if you're going to be assessing potential, for me, I think the conversation first should kick off from um, ensuring that whatever potential you're assessing or should be in alignment with also the skill set within your framework, and then there should also be behaviors that's centric to your organization, right? Because it's one thing to hire people with the right skill. The other thing is they have their behaviors are not consistent with what is in the organization.
Welcome to the All in Recruitment podcast by Manatal, where we explore best practices, learnings, and trends with leaders in the recruitment space. If you like our content, please subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Spotify to stay tuned for our weekly episodes. My name is Lydia, and with us today is Chibundu Nnorom from OQ. Welcome to the show, Chibundu, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Lydia. It's a pleasure to have me on your show today. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your role at OQ. You've been in the renewables or the energy sector for some years now, and what might be some areas that you've prioritized, Chibundu?
Thank you, Lydia. So basically what I do currently is I overlook the whole talent acquisition, strategy development and implementation for OQ in terms of identifying the right talents for OQ, alternative energy, at the right cost, time, and quality as well. And to also, review current trends and leverage that data to make informed decision on improving generally our outlook or how we attract candidates to OQ in a nutshell, to see also what our competitors are doing and how we, can better improve our existing practices to compete effectively or give us something called like a competitive advantage over our competitors.
And we were talking pre-show about some of the trends that you've seen so far and how the sector is moving in terms of talent acquisition. So what might be some trends that you've noticed in the recent past, at least coming out of the pandemic period, right? How has the landscape for talent changed?
So the landscape has really changed a lot. We're seeing a lot of transition from legacy to renewables, and that has come with its own complexity, more and more around identifying the right candidate with the right skill set. Also, the fact that we're seeing also disruptions in technology and all that is taking place, and more importantly is how candidates now understand the value that they have. So in terms of the negotiations with candidates, it's become a bit more interesting. I don't want to use difficult. It has become more interesting. Candidates look for things like hybrid roles or remote roles and all that, and they know there's a skill gap. They understand organizations need to fill those roles. And so if you don't have a total reward system that covers some of their needs, then it's going to be very difficult to attract those candidates or make them have that conviction to change their mind to want to join the organization. So these are a few things that we've seen. And it's quite interesting what the future holds.
Absolutely. And the energy sector itself is going through a period of transformation, right? And it's also a very important topic in terms of global concern. So what are some expectations that candidates might have top of mind when they come in and explore roles within this sector today?
So if you generally paid attention to the just concluded COP that held in the UAE, we could clearly see that there has been a lot of commitment from world leaders and organizations that the focus is going to really center around renewables and less investments in legacy. And of course, with all these changes, as a renewable candidate, right, you'll be worried about what the future holds for you.
Right.
But I think it's not something to be alarmed about. It's more around you understanding or looking at these trends and leveraging what's the insights on this trend to prepare yourself or in the sense. So for me, what I say to people is do a self-assessment of where you are today. Look at the skills you have today and ask yourself that question: are these skills transferable in this industry? And if they are not, how can I upskill to be able to become relevant for the renewables industry, for instance? So if I upskill, knowing that organizations too are new, most of them are trying to find their reading within this industry. So the organizations are now more willing to rather focus on skill-based hiring than experience-based. Okay. Not a lot of people have experiences, for instance, in hydrogen production. Okay. Or we know that the wind space has been there for a while, but it's also a maturing industry, or the solar, for instance, or even go to things like EVs, all those things. So organizations are more and more looking at, okay, who have the skill set that fit what we're looking for today, and then we are willing to grow with the individual. So the important thing here is to do that self-assessment and then also put yourself at the fore of these changes in terms of upskilling, improving yourself, or reskilling, in the sense where you have to you have the skills already, and maybe it's looking a bit blunt. You just need to resharpen and prepare yourself for the challenges ahead. Yeah,
that's a great point, because in terms of a recruiter looking at a sector, or rather talent needs in a sector that is moving towards a different phase altogether, they might also be looking at newer types of roles, right? Newer names or different kinds of approaches towards a role that has been there already. Maybe you need a different skill, as you said. So from a recruiter's perspective, how might they be able to approach effectively newer roles that come their way?
Of course, there are new job titles here and there these days. Some organizations are still trying to also frame what those titles would be for them. But I think for those who have been able to get the titles ready and in terms of also looking at the projects that they have in place or the growth aspirations they have and all that. So things like, for instance, principal electrolysis are some of the roles that are more pronounced these days. Some companies call it principal, or they call it manager for hydrogen production. It depends. All these nomenclatures are just popping up here and there. But the key thing for me as a recruiter, I think it's important for us as recruiters to pay attention to the skills. So if your attention is more skill centric, and that would help you to alleviate any fear, whether the titles are called whatever they are called, right? So you know that these are the specific skills that the business is looking for. One other thing I think is important is in the conversation you're going to be having with job brief, the hiring manager is to have the job brief meeting where the good to haves are clearly defined, the must haves are clearly defined. Once you have all those, right, and then of course side by side your competency framework that the organization has in place, it's then easier for you to source those kind of candidates. Now with the advent of generative AI, if you do the right promptings, you will get the right response, and then it makes your work easier. For instance, LinkedIn has also introduced AI in terms of how you source. So if you impute the right skills, the AI Pops gives you feedback of candidates who have this kind of skill set. You then have to just do your proper filtering to find the specific ones that meet what you're looking for and what the hiring manager may be interested in seeing. I think this is a quick win for us, if I would say that, or a low-hanging fruit for us.
In terms of assessing these candidates for potential, going back to what you said about nice to haves versus must haves, right? So we're also looking at matching those skills with potential roles in the future that might require those skills that is not immediately a must have. So in terms of assessing these candidates for potential, what might be some strategic ways for recruiters or even leaders to do this?
So first off, right, if you're going to be assessing potential, for me, I think the conversation first should kick off from um, ensuring that whatever potential you're assessing or should be in alignment with also the skill set within your framework, and then there should also be behaviors that are centric to your organization, right? Because it's one thing to hire people with the right skill. The other thing is their behaviors are not consistent with what is in the organization. Then it's a mismatch. You're going to be having problems. So in your assessments, what I think for me, what we do is we leverage a very structured approach in terms of how we assess our candidates. For instance, we apart from the functional competencies of the individual, the behaviors as well is something we assess. For instance, if you put the right programs or initiatives or in place to close those gaps. Aside that, again, you can come back to the assessment tools you use as well. So leveraging the assessment tools in a very structured manner. For instance, you can use the STAR model to test specifically if this person really, really have demonstrated these things in the last few years they've been working. So STAR model is situation, task, action, and result. It's very useful tool that I have seen time and time again give very objective evidence to assessments in the sense.
And in terms of technology or the overall impact of technology, lots of this require a human input as well in terms of analysis, etc. And how has technology made an impact on talent acquisition as a whole?
So this it's an interesting discourse because it takes me back to years when we had the paper test batches for assessments, right? And the trouble of moving everybody to one assessment center, assessors, candidates, everyone to one assessment center. The exposures also that came with that, flying people from here and there, the cost associated with that, all that on the side has been something. If I think about it, and the daunting task of sorting assessment or test batches of candidates to then segmentize them to say, okay, this candidate was successful, this wasn't successful, and all that sourcing was difficult to do. But today we have technology, and technology has helped us a lot in terms of now we have online assessments. You have AI powered application tracking systems where you sit in the comfort of your office. Candidates also, can screen candidates. AI helps you to filter candidates and give you the right candidates who have or predict candidates who have a high potential of succeeding, in your assessment. Conversion rate has improved. We are seeing candidate satisfaction improved, hiring manager satisfaction improves. All this has been something that has come because of technology, right? The other thing also that we've seen more and more is that candidates can sit at the comfort of their homes, on their beds, wherever they are, and they can be on the plane and the train, and a new job comes online. Now we can post jobs on LinkedIn, for instance, on social media. If candidate sets a notification, he receives a notification that there is a new job, right? And he can comfortably click on the device and go to say easy apply, depending on how the organization sets it up on LinkedIn, and you can apply. So these are the tremendous benefits that technology has brought to the fore for us in the TA space. There's quick turnaround, efficiency has improved, effectiveness has improved. So it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's something that we would see an incremental improvement as we go ahead.
It's getting more and more complex to differentiate or to split AI from the overall technology stack that you have for talent acquisition. I mean, almost everything is infused with AI technology as well. So in terms of the usage of AI in recruitment operations, I know you mentioned a few earlier already, but what might be some advantages in terms of what value it brings to a recruiter and what a recruiter gains from using artificial intelligence or even technology as a whole, and getting more and more fluent in the usage of technology?
I know this is a worrying subject for a lot of us because of the impact it brings. There's a possibility that our jobs are at risk. Yeah, but more and more, I think that AI, in a nutshell, is going to be a collaborative tool rather than something that takes away the opportunities. Clearly, it's just how you position yourself that really matters. So I was listening to the CEO of LinkedIn recently talk about AI and then the advent of the internet and what people were worried about at the time when the internet was introduced and all that. But we've seen now that the internet has become a very key part of our businesses, our life in general, and all that. It's become more of an integrative tool for us to leverage. And so I think also AI would be this for recruiters, in the sense that, for instance, we as recruiters or people in the talent acquisition space, in the past, we had a daunting task to do due diligence on every application that drops into the application tracker we are using. Now we have generative AI that helps us to filter, give us the right candidates we should be focusing on. It frees up time for us to have, that extra time to work to do other things that are more value added into in terms of partnering more with the business, understanding what the challenges are, seeing how we can bridge those gaps. Also it's going to help us, or it's helping us already to improve hiring manager satisfaction. We're seeing more and more that our conversion rates are becoming tremendously improved.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that sense of trust from the business to say that we know what we're doing, right? Because again, technology is collaborating with us and helping us to improve our effectiveness and efficiency. Time to fill, we're shortening that time. In the past, for instance, it takes 365 days or not 300, 120 days, 140 days, 150 days to close roles. Sometimes you can't close the role for the entire year, and you're struggling to fill those roles. Now we're seeing shortened time to fill. In my past job, the time to fill, for instance, was 75. Right, or 75 days for experienced hires.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that with this technology now, that it will be shortened even further. So once you have the conversation with hiring manager, it's like you can guarantee the hiring manager, if there are no like things like a notice period, nothing does not impact your recruitment, then you can guarantee that in the next few days or few months or weeks, a candidate will be on seat. So these are the benefits we're seeing. I think the worrying part is something we would understand as time goes on in terms of how does this impact on the job of a talent acquisition professional today or in the future. And those are the things, but what I know for sure, that's one of the things I expect would happen is that organizations, especially TS in the TS space, it will become leaner because more and more we will leverage technology to do that. One thing I want to highlight is recruiters will always be important. Why? I was having a conversation recently with a recruiter, a fellow recruiter, and then as we went back and forth in our exchanges, I noticed something. And one of the things I noticed was the lack of authenticity in terms of the conversation we're having. The feedback from her was something I picked up and I said this is not new. It was more of the AI you're using in chatbots talking to me. And so that interface, that human interface will always be there. It's always important. It's always going to be important.
Well,
As much as organizations that, yes, go
I'm
ahead.
curious about your immediate perception of that. I mean, as a candidate or as the other person on the receiving end, getting a sense that it might all be conducted by AI. What was your immediate perception of that?
My immediate perception of that, to be really candid and fair with you, is that I would love an authentic conversation where I feel I'm talking to an individual rather than a chatbot. Yeah. Because there's a difference. There's the way an individual person would speak. I understand that in the future, with machine learning and all that, the AI will become better in terms of understanding emotions and all that, and corresponding effectively. But today, if that human feel is not there, I think there will be a distrust in the sense between the candidate and the organization trying to hire the candidate. Because how can I guarantee that what you're saying today to me it's really what's going to happen? Because it just is a program responding to me, and so that's the worry. But I think one of the things we can do again is, in spite, I know that there's a whole lot of we have goals, we have targets in the year, and so we are sending a lot of messages to candidates we think they are very good or have the skill set we're looking for, and there's guarantee that they're going to be responding back to us. It's clean. So I know that we're sending out things, and so AI helps you to, expedite that process and give more responses and try to get more feedback and all that. But I think where we then have a win is when we have the preliminary call, right? Trying to understand how the candidate fits. Is that sense of comfort will then come back when we have this conversation and we can hear clearly that it's not a chatbot talking, it's a human being talking, and then you can share your experience as well. And I think that's where we would have the win.
And that would in some way influence the kind of future that we see for recruitment in the coming years, or really in just the next couple of years even, right? So the ability to take your human element and make technology work for you in that sense is also going to be very critical in terms of really understanding what kind of technology you're playing with. But on that note, what would you say might be the role of a talent acquisition professional in the advent of technology? So there is that human element, there is that expert knowledge that comes into play when dealing with a candidate or when strategizing, etc. So with the help of technology, or with all that foundational elements being taken care of by technology and even AI, what might be the role of a talent acquisition professional?
So generally, I think it will become more strategy focused if I think about it, all right, in terms of developing the overall talent acquisition strategy, and even with operationalizing it, right? Of course, AI will play a huge role in the operations, but somebody has to be there to make those things happen. So I think more and more the recruiter or the TA person will be the key driver to that. Okay. Organizations are not just going to leverage the AI like a post office box, right? Or there has to be someone who has to take accountability for the deliveries. So having those difficult conversations, sharing the timelines that are expected, understanding exactly what the business needs. Because it's one thing to write a JD, okay? Every hiring manager wants to hire themselves. Let's be very frank and sincere. And sometimes they want to hire they want to buy a Porsche with a budget for something even smaller. So there's always that challenge. So is that perspective we bring in terms of market intelligence to say that what you've told me is the Porsche. What I have today in my arsenal to identify this person is not going to be enough for a push. This is what the organization had provided for this, and this is what is possible. And you share those insights. That is where we become relevant. So in terms of strategy, that's where you see us play more and more.
Yeah, and also that market intelligence element, I think that is critical.
Absolutely.
Yeah, making sure that data, the use of technology yields data, and that data moves and turns itself into intelligence. So it's how that data is being used and being analyzed, right?
So someone is supposed to translate those insights, right? So all that nice things, all the nice things that the AI has helped you generate, somebody is supposed to tell the business, this is where we are, this is the information we have, this is where we're going to be in the next few years, this is how our process is going to improve. Somebody has to also give the leadership of the organization comfort of spirit that we've invested right? And those insights are the things and this intelligence that we garner from reviewing all this data that's here and there, reviewing, checking trends and all that, are things that we can bring to the table to have this conversation. And that's how we become very strategic business partners to the business.
Chibundu, you've also spent time as a recruiter yourself, and you referenced a time where you had to go through physical applications and stuff, right? So I'm sure you've had one or maybe several favorite or some recruitment stories that are very close to your heart. So what might be your favorite recruitment story that you can remember right now?
I think one of the ones that readily comes to my mind is a feedback that I received recently on Facebook. Yeah, just about the period where things opened up again and there was business after the pandemic. In the pandemic, generally. I had hired someone from South Africa, from Sasol at the time. And I have also helped the person, kept the person warm. It was a period of a lot of uncertainty, right? People were still trying to determine, should I be moving with all these changes that have happened and all that. And I kind of, helped this individual make a decision around their career. And it was going to be also something that was going to mean growth for them. And eventually, they were on 6. And then I got this very amazing response in terms of sharing their story on LinkedIn and how I have helped them to move from one organization to another, has helped them also in terms of elevation in their career space and all that. And generally how I manage them through that process in terms of that candidate experience and all that. I felt a sense of pride. It was something that gave me comfort of spirit that I was doing the right thing. And for me, that's one of those stories. And a few others have also just popped up recently. So I've seen, for instance, grads that I hired in my past or in my previous job grew in that organization. And just the fact that they've grown, into leaders in the organization is something I'm very, very proud of. And I think this role gives you that opportunity to beat your chest any day to say, yes, I'm making a difference in the world.
Yeah, that makes it all worthwhile. The long period of
absolutely
making the candidate warm and back and forth, and going back to the hiring manager, sharpening your JDs, the whole works, and that
absolutely. Of course, because if you look at it generally, it's for a recruiter, it's not all love story. Like, it's not always amazing. There's some very difficult conversations you have, some very difficult hiring managers that you experience as well. But then there's some also very difficult candidates that, you kick off a process, you are excited of bringing the candidate and suddenly they change their mind, or sometimes they take your offer and present to the organization, where they're currently working to get a raise. And it seems like you wasted the time of everybody and you have to start all over again. The canceled vacancy, all those things are counting against you in terms of recruiter efficiency and effectiveness. So all those things. But when you look back to the stories that really encourage you in terms of the value you are bringing to the organization, the value you're bringing to people's life. Not to say the many. In fact, one of the best things I used to enjoy in the past when I was in grad recruitment was the way the candidates screamed when I made the offer to them. You know, it is that
literal
is that
scream.
there's this joy, that they and you are really, really excited because again, someone's life has been changed and all that, and they're going to be kicking off their career in a big multinational, and it's a lot, really.
Yeah, and you also brought up an interesting point where, we often don't really speak about the difficulties or those little moments when you don't quite make it, or rather failures, if you want to call it that. When you go up there and you've put in all the work and yet it doesn't fall through, and then you've got to answer to different people. And how do you keep a mindset that keeps you focused, and how do you approach these difficult conversations with the many stakeholders?
I think first is to I think if you've been in the recruitment space a while or been in talent acquisition space for a while, you would have had a few, right? And what that helps you to do is to know how, to have the right to manage the expectations of these hiring managers. For instance, in cases where you've had rejections or cases where you were close to onboarding the individual and they turn back, is to what I've come, I think, has become very handy for me is to ensure that I always have somebody in the pool that can quickly plug, plug that whatever has been over, or what's it called, that vacuum, and just quickly plug it in. So I try to have at least 2 or 3 candidates as backup. In the event where you don't even have that, okay, there has to be that conversation. You have to have that conversation. It's difficult, but you have to have it and say, this is the reason. And for me, one of the things I say to hiring managers when we start off the process is to have that mindset that this is an opportunity for us to hire people and not to disqualify. It changes how the conversation goes. If you're having a conversation, you're having an assessment, and there's always this bias that stems from the fact that, oh, I've seen this perfect candidate and this is the person I want. And for that reason, other candidates who are good, but might not be at the level of that person you have that bias towards, you then disqualify them. But can they do the same thing that person will do? Yes, they may be able to do that. So when you have those conversations before the assessment start to say, let us look for an opportunity to hire than disqualify. Let's also think of having a backup in the event that something doesn't fall through. And so all that helps the conversation. And when it's difficult, when these things don't happen, you tell the hiring manager, these things happen. This is the market. The market is very tough these days. There's organizations that are out there in the market. I'll give an example. I was hiring for a principal electrolysis recently, and fortunately, I found them quickly. About the time we're trying to, I had my preliminary calls, and they told me what he wanted, and then about the time when we're about to pick up the offer, the candidate gets a counter offer from a big multinational as well, better than what I was offering at the time. And he says, I'm sorry, I really want to join you guys, but I have this. But it comes with remote working for me. I don't even have to move from my home country. I can stay in my home country and still get this. And that changed the conversation. It was like I wasted time of the hiring manager, but I told him clearly, this is the reality. Everybody is transitioning into the renewables, for instance. And so how much talent do we have in renewables? It's a lean pool of candidates. Everybody's dipping their hands into the cookie jar to get cookies. And so whichever dips in and picks first and offers the best is who they go to. So these are the things. So immediately, I said, you know what, let's go back. I think we have a way to find more people. And today I feel that with somebody even more experienced than the person I was going to hire in the past. And today they're comfortable. Things are going as planned.
Yeah, indeed.
It's just that the timeline shifted slightly, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a kind of challenge that needs to be tactfully handled. There's a lot of tact in terms
Yeah,
of how it's viewed, what perspective is taken in order to make it as smooth sailing as possible and not as disruptive as people might envision it to be, right? Or don't get this hype
yeah,
for its doom and gloom, but it's perhaps maybe there's another chance to look at something else, as your anecdote just clearly showed us. So thank you so much, Chibundu. Those are really great anecdotes, and I really love the insights that you shared today. So thank you so much for your time and your insights. For those who are listening in, and if they want to contact you or pick up a conversation with you, where can they find you?
yeah. Thank you very much, Lydia. This has been a very amazing opportunity for me as well to kind of share the little I know within the TA space. I also want to say that you can always connect with me um, on LinkedIn. My name is Chibundu Nnorom. I think we don't have a lot of people with that name. It's a niche name, if I say that. So yeah, you can always connect with me. I share insights from time to time on TA. I provide advice to people who need them or candidates who are trying to transition into new roles. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to connecting with as many as possible who want to have a chat with me around that. And of course, I also post jobs from time to time based off on the needs of the organization at the time. So thank you very much and have a great day.
And we have been in conversation with Chibundu Nnorom from OQ. Thank you for joining us, and remember to subscribe to stay tuned for more weekly episodes from All in Recruitment.